Wendy Williamson Auditorium. Inside the theater, the audience is watching intently, following every scene with rapt attention and observing the final scene on the stage with great interest. Just before the curtain falls, the people are delighted to find something utterly surprising. A woman dressed in white had effortlessly floated above the stage. After the stage show, during a question session, a student is eager to know how they managed the special effect. "How did that girl float?" he inquired eagerly. The stage workers and the cast were confused. What was he talking about? Imagine their surprise when many others raised their hands and wanted to know how they managed to execute such a unique effect. It looked like his students were probably playing a prank, until a teacher also asked the same question. The cast exchanged nervous glances. They informed the curious questioners that it was a stage secret that could not be shared. The truth, though, was that there had been no floating white woman as part of the cast. Yet it appeared as if everybody in the theater had seen her. In the Wendy Williamson Theater, which is located in Anchorage, Alaska, this is one of the many different incidents that have become commonplace. The lady in white has been known to make cameo appearances on the stage, though none as dramatic as that day she floated above the stage. The interesting thing is that there have been reports of strange occurrences and hauntings in this theater ever since it was opened in 1974. Once, a psychic was allowed to stay overnight in the premises. After his stay, he produced a detailed written account on not one or two, but 6 different spirits residing there. One of the ghosts mentioned was a lady in white. Another is supposed to be a musician who is believed to be John Wendy Williamson, after whom the building was named. He is believed to be responsible for the piano in the foyer playing by itself. There also seems to be a ghost that has an inclination for mischief, especially directed towards a portrait of Williamson hanging in the building's lobby. Every time the portrait was hung on the wall, the next morning it would be found on the floor, though not damaged in any way. One time, the wire cable that was used for hanging it snapped in two. Taking it as some kind of a sign, the owners never hung it on the wall again. There is also a ghost of a little girl who is no more than 8 or 9 years old that seems to be living inside the theater. The little girl's ghost apparently has a great affinity for floating close to spotlights. An employee working in the auditorium building heard the sound of giggling and went to check outside the door, only to discover no one was there. Another ghost seems to be the shadowy figure of a shy man who appears to enjoy listening to the performances. The ghost is often spotted on the partition backstage or leaning against a wall. In fact, one of the members playing folk music on the stage happened to spot this ghost leaning backstage with arms folded and listening to the music. After the show, he was curious to know how a person managed to gain access to that particular spot, backstage, where there was no access allowed. Another particularly kind and benevolent spirit appears to be that of a male teenager. A teenage girl who acted in the theater suddenly fell seriously ill. When surgery was recommended, the girl became extremely scared, especially when she was separated from her family. Out of the blue, there seemed to be some pressure on her wrist, as if someone was holding her arm in a comforting way. The girl immediately felt at ease, even though she couldn't see anyone. She also began to believe in the presence of ghosts ever after that. A psychic has provided the information that the teenage boy died in a car accident on 36th Street nearby. While it might give the impression that the Wendy Williamson Auditorium has only benign and gentle ghosts inside, this is not really the case. A psychic who investigated the ghosts inside identified an angry male ghost there. This ghost seemed to have a peculiar malignance towards women. Many times the ghost has been known to shove young women down the left staircase in the lobby. One striking incident happened during a beauty pageant. A girl was walking down the stairs when she suddenly fell forward down the remaining steps. When the other girls laughed at her and teased her for not knowing how to walk in heels, she indignantly remarked that she'd been pushed. An eyewitness confirmed that he'd seen the girl fall forward in such a way that it appeared that it wasn't just a careless trip. The next day, 2 large bruises in the shape of a handprint were seen on her body where she'd been pushed. Indeed, there have been stories about how many women with brown hair were often subjected to such abuse here. This negative apparition is also thought to be responsible for intense negative feelings that employees sometimes experience in certain locations in the theater. The lighting booth, in particular, seems to be a hotspot of angry emotions. Even though the different ghosts seem to be related to the theater directly, it appears as if the place draws ghosts and spirits like a magnet. Owing to the emotions expelled in the form of plays and shows, the lobby of the auditorium seems to be the most haunted spot in the entire building. People have observed mysterious reflections appear on the windows of the outer doors. Sometimes the piano plays by itself. Women trying to leave the restroom sometimes feel as if the door is held shut by some force on the other side. Inside the theater, the paranormal activity is just as prominent. Ghostly orbs are seen floating above people's heads, and sometimes props fling themselves off the table. Other times, strange shadows appear on the walls and lights burn out with a loud pop. Outside, faucets and showers in the women's dressing rooms turn themselves on at night. Security staff has found it quite unsettling that their names are whispered in the vacant halls as they walked around. In the lighting booth, certain crew members have felt extremely uncomfortable after hearing mysterious footsteps and a sudden drop in temperature. A sensation of fear and helplessness followed soon afterwards. Many people have reported such a number of experiences that it seems without doubt that the auditorium is haunted.